can blame you for walking away. Too much rejection, no love injection. Life can be easy, it's not always swell. Don't tell me truth hurts you, girl, 'cause it hurts like hell. But down in the underground, you'll find someone true. Down in the underground, a lance, a reef, a crystal moon. It's only forever. It's not long at all. That's how Boy would sing it.
Yeah.
Lost and lonely. That's underground. Underground. Gotta get me out of here. I'm underground. Hard to tell a place not ours to stay. Nothing ever hurts the ground. I don't know, man. I'm underground. Okay, hey, bonjour, everybody. Welcome back to Bonjour, Nana Bonjour, a podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Nana Bonjour, and this is Natasha. Bonjour! Yeah, let's get the show on the road. I'm gonna fade out the music. Huh?
That's awesome.
That's kind of cool.
Hey, where'd he go? Bonjour, everybody. Welcome back to the show. Welcome back to Bonjour, Nana Bonjour, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. This is the early morning live stream. My name is Natasha. And let's see who's here. Daniel Black is here. Bonjour, Daniel. You're the first in line. And Jessica Gonzalez. Bonjour, Jessica. Daniel Black is here. Yeah, bonjour, crew. Bowie time. That's right. That's from Labyrinth. Had to start the morning off with a little bit of energy. We had a sad, slow song planned in the last minute. We're like, come on, let's do a Bowie tune. Who's hiding? 2 on talk and 1 not. Show yourself. 2 on talk, 1 on not. What's that mean? Grieving Turtle is here. Bonjour. And Jessica laugh all loud. Right, leave a comment and join us. Join us for the party. So today's Ojibwe word of the day is Mudwewe Chicken, Mudwewe Chicken, the piano. And I thought we'd just play a little piano this morning. Gonna play, this is a song by, Coldplay, whatever that means. And let's see if we can do this without ruining the illusion. Take it away, Nana Bonjour.
Come set you apart. Tell me your secrets, ask me your questions. Oh, let's go back to the start. Running in circles, coming up tails, heads on a science apart. Nobody said it was easy. It's such a shame for us to part. Nobody said it was easy. No one ever said it would be this hard. I'm going back to the start. Okay, hey, Bonjour, and welcome back to Bonjour, not a Bonjour, the early morning live stream. I am not a Bonjour, and on the piano, on the Madwewe Chicken on the piano, the lovely and talented Natasha. Bonjour! Today, our Ojibwe word of the day, Madwewe Chicken, the piano. Don't know what to say beyond that.
The piano. A sacred part of the Anishinaabe culture.
Nobody said it was easy.
It's such a shame for us to part.
Nobody said it was easy.
No one ever said it would be this hard.
Took me back to the start.
Nobody said it was easy, Jessica. Hey, Brandy Marie! Bonjour! Bonjour, Jim!
That was beautiful, sweetie. Oh, thanks. Thanks.
Quit looking over there. I'm right here. All right. Well, we did some pre-recording there, and it didn't really work, but you know, you get the idea. How you doing, everybody? Welcome back to the show. Thought I'd start the show today just for a change. I don't know. So, bonjour on this beautiful, I always say that, beautiful Monday morning. It is Ishwa Anama Gisha Good. It is the day after prayer day. And, thank you, Brandy Marie, Brandy Marie said that was beautiful.
Hey, thanks a lot, Brandy Marie.
Nana Bougie says thank you. And, yeah, so we thought, just what the heck. We were playing the piano and goofing around. And I was going to try to do some live stuff on the fly. I don't know if it works. Sometimes it gets kind of garbled when when you try to record these things on live. But here we are. And so what can we say about Monday? Monday is a day of change. So let's change the background. Not third office. How about office fire? La 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 la. Let's get rid of the piano. Let's make me grow a little bit. Or sit in front of the chair. It's raining. Give me one. It's raining. And I'm growing. Oh, Big John, Little John. So we got a nice little fire in the fireplace. All cozy in the early morning rain. In the early morning rain. So, I love it when there's severe weather first thing in the morning. I don't care if it's a blizzard, or a snowstorm, or a rainstorm. You know, everyone's like, oh, I want chirping birds. Not me. I like it when it's a storm. Get some coffee, sit down, watch the storm go by. I guess it started when I was little. Because if it was a snowy day, they might cancel school. You go, oh, cool. It's a snow day. You get there, turn on the TV, see if they'll announce, this is a school closing. And they start listing down in alphabetical order. And, be like, Bemidji School, blah, blah, blah. Cass Lake, blah, blah, blah. Bagonegishig. That's the Indian school. But Laporte, that's halfway down the list. You'd be on the edge of your seat going, come on, give me a snow day Laporte. And sure enough, once in a while, they'd say, don't come into school. Just stay at home. Go sledding. It's a snow day. And you go, all right. And your parents would be like, go back to bed. Like, I'm not going to waste a snow day on sleeping. What, are you out of your mind? And so you'd put on your snow clothes and you go out. And you and the dog might go sledding in a big storm. But it was usually because of cold more than snow. They called it a snow day. But mostly it was like a freezing, the pipes are frozen at the school. We're not going to have class today. But yeah. So, what do you remember about snow days? That's another thing I feel sorry about for the kids. Now that they're all homeschooled, they don't know the joys of when school cancels. Don't worry, kids, you can stay home, take a snow day. Zugipun Giza good. Zugipun Giza good. Snow day. So, I don't know. The good old snow days. So in my mind today, I have a snow day. Once I was a fool. What's going on over here? Grieving Turtle says, I'm always thankful when it's raining and the roof isn't leaking. Yeah, no kidding. It's been pretty good for us. Last year, we had a whole lot of snow. And so the roof got a whole lot of ice on it. And when the ice melted, it started to leak into the house. But when it's just a regular rain, the roof doesn't leak. Something to do with the ice pulling apart the roof. I don't know. But Brandy Marie concurs. She loves weather like this. Brandy Marie says, trying to make money on snow days, like shoveling neighborhoods and sidewalks. Yeah. Then the young entrepreneurs would get out there and take advantage of the snow. Go to an elder's house. Hey, shovel your walk for $10. It takes you 10 minutes. You're like, hey man, that's pretty good money. Although, if I'm being honest, I never once did that. We had to shovel at our house for free. Just do it. And our neighbors weren't close enough for me to do jobs. La la la, do do do. So yeah. Mudway chicken. Mudway chicken. My grandma, when she went to boarding school, everybody had to learn an instrument. And she said especially the people who wanted to be teachers. Because part of boarding school was also vocational training. So like the boys would also learn carpentry and farming and printmaking, print shop work, whatever. And the ladies could choose between, teaching or nursing. And my grandma wanted to be a teacher. And so she said, yeah, I played a little piano in school. Everybody had to learn how to play the piano if you were going to be a teacher. Because teachers back in the days of the grandfathers, they had to be ready to teach music as well as English and history and Phi Ed. They taught everything. And art, And so, the old schools, there was like a one teacher school. My grandma's first class was in Bina. Up on the Leech Lake, over, I guess. On Leech Lake Res, Bina is a little village. And they used to have, they have the school now, Bugunagishig. But that's kind of a new school from the 80s. But back in the old days, they had a single room school. And my grandma, when she was just a young girl, she was like 21, 22, became the teacher. And she had to teach the boys and the girls everything from math, reading, science, music, Phi Ed, It wasn't like today where you had a different teacher for every class. And they all studied different stuff. Oh no, I can't teach anything about math. I'm a Phi Ed teacher. I don't know anything about that stuff. And then you go to your math class and she weighs 300 pounds. You're like, well, you don't know anything about Phi Ed. None of them teachers are musicians anymore. But yeah. So the piano, not a lot of people think of boarding schools with little Indian kids learning how to play the scales on a piano, but that was going on, And so when my grandma grew up and got, she was a teacher for many years, she made sure she bought a piano for both of her daughter-in-laws. Her sons married women, and she wanted to make sure that they had pianos. I guess she gave them to her boys, but it was always sort of a gift for the girls, for the ladies, because her sons didn't play piano. But she wanted to make sure that there was a piano in the house. So the kids could learn too, I guess. Although none of us did, really. I mean, I did a little bit. But, yeah, piano. La, la, la. Who are some great piano players? Who's your favorite piano player, Michael?
I don't know if I really have one. I mean, I have favorite guitar players and stuff. I like Billy Joel, and he plays a lot of piano.
Yeah, huh? What about Elton John?
Yeah, I guess. But I can't judge a good piano player from a bad piano player. I can tell guitar good from bad, but I can't tell piano, so I don't know. Liberace?
Yeah, Liberace. There's only a few piano players I can even name. George Winston. He's got that album, Winter, and then another album, Autumn, another album, Spring, and Summer. It's like, oh, you got the names of the year, of the months. That's pretty good. Sunny day, la la la. But yeah, so the piano, my grandma, boarding school teaching the arts. That's one thing you gotta say. I kind of feel like I need to be an apologist for the boarding schools a little bit. Because we sure talk a lot of smack about boarding schools, huh?
Yeah, we've done our share of criticizing the boarding schools on the show.
But the reality is, if you were to compare the Flandreau Indian School to any one of these schools now, it was far superior of an educational experience. The kids who went to boarding school who learned piano and farming, and they had multiple sports. There's another one, my grandma. Today is the Ojibwe word of the day. Nokomis. Grandma. My grandma used to say, the girls, they had to play half court basketball. They had different rules for the ladies. You would get a rebound and you'd run to the halfway line and then run back. For some reason, they didn't want women playing full court, and she thought that was silly. But she goes, it was dumb too in basketball for a while there. Our uniforms were just skirts. And so you'd jump up for a rebound or something and everybody would see your panties. So the girls and I got together, went to the home ec room, sewed up those skirts, and we made skorts. She called them skorts. They're half skirt, half short. And she goes, yeah, and after that, the girls just started wearing skorts to class. They're like, I don't want these boys looking at my panties. Grieving Turtle says, that's really good that her sons married ladies. Yeah. David Lanz is a really good piano player. David Lanz. I'll have to check out David Lanz. Nokomis? Yeah, we spell it with an O. No kumis almost. But yeah, Nokomis is grandma. And my grandma was, she never in a million years would have called herself a feminist. But she was like the first strong, independent woman that generation to wear pants, to play sports, to work outside of the home, And so at her school, everyone learned how to sew and how to cook, how to play basketball, how to play a piano, and then just the basic not real, but standard educational experience, so she was ready for college. So then when she went to college, she just crushed it because she went to a really hard, strict boarding school. The schools are no joke. But when the kids got done, they were well educated. Now compare that to your average high school grad of any school you want to talk about now. They're barely literate. The graduation rate's like 50%. I think it's worse now for Native Americans than it's ever been. So, oh yeah, thanks. Thanks, American Indian movement and all your educational stuff. You guys graduated at a faster rate than this generation does. Grieving Turtle says, there's a Lake Nokomis in central Wisconsin. Lake Grandma. Yeah, exactly. Let's go swimming down at Lake Grandma. Oh, wait, Grandma's Lake? That's what I said. Lake Nokomis. They say little kids and their grandmas and grandpas have a special connection. They share this special connection with Gitche Manadu. One has just left the spirit world, little babies. Before they start talking, they still remember the spirit world. Ishpaming, they still remember heaven. And then the elders, as they get closer and closer to that, going back, to going home again, as they say, they start to, they get a special spiritual something. Like, I don't know if it's other spirits are around or if they get in tune or what it is. But you can see it with little babies, and especially like the super old. The babies will just jump, just want to hug them. They think they're the most beautiful things I've ever seen. Old, wrinkled up grandma, oxygen in her nose. Little baby just can't wait to see grandma, And they look at each other like, oh, you're my favorite person in the world. Finally. I've been waiting for you. It's really sweet. So, Anishinaabe have always understood that really important connection. Don't you think, Nanabuju?
Yeah, I do.
Well, okay. Do you want to get up here and say hello?
Sure.
All right, guys. I'm gonna go sit over there, watch from afar, and let Nanabuju come and say hello and make an appearance on his own show. But to make that transition a little easier, what we should have done is save one of these pre-recorded songs, and we could play it during the transition. But check this out. Another Ojibwe word of the day. Mushkiki de Tibisade. Oh, come on. Since we couldn't be bothered to get an Ojibwe language word of the day, a medicine wheel. Alright, and I'm going to get rid of me. And Nanabuju will return after these messages.
La 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 la. Hello there. This is an ad from the fine people at the Mushkiki de Tibisade Foundation. And Buju Nana Buju is brought to you by the generous contributions of the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation. From the Chanam T and Carcer Fee, fellow blah. And from viewers like you. So please welcome the star of the show. Why am I announcing myself?
Do you want me to announce you?
Could you?
Yeah, okay. Ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, please welcome, all the way from Bemidji, Minnesota, the one and the only.
Yeah, I think we got them. You can just cut to the chase.
Nanabuju! Take it away, baby, bing!
Oh, thank you, sweetheart. Hey, Buju, I'm back. I'm back in the New York groove. Yeah, the old out of focus medicine wheel. Mushkiki de Tibisade. It is the sacred symbol of the 4 seasons and the 4 races. And the 4 states of being, and the 4 elements, and the 4 directions. And if I could shut it off, I would. Where did I put it? I got too much stuff here, you guys. No, that was the word of the day. I guess I don't need that anymore either. Oh, here we go. No, that was the old one. I don't know which one's better. This one's got the rain. How you doing, guys? Brandy Marie Mino Giga J Brandy. Excuse me. I just burped at Brandy.
That's so rude. You should apologize.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I didn't realize I was dealing with such a lady. You know, if you're gonna get offended by everything I do here, Brandy, sometimes I get gas. I'm sorry. I'm an old man. I drink a lot of coffee in the morning, so I'm sorry. All right. Nima Nendam.
Don't fight with Brandy Marie.
Well, she started it.
No, she didn't.
Oh yeah, I guess she didn't. Oh, sorry. Randy's laughing, crying. It's so easy to make her laugh. Hey, Sheila Eddy is here. Bonjour, Sheila. How are you doing, my girl? It's nice to see you. You missed out on our songs. I don't know if they worked out so well this morning. But, we try to do stuff on the fly. So, yeah, grandmas. Nokomis should have been our Ojibwe word of the day, huh?
Yeah, we probably have more to say about grandmas than we do pianos.
Yeah. And the funny thing is, my grandma would never have even called herself a piano player. She just knew how to play a little piano because everybody of her generation knew her teachers did. It was just a basic skill. I met a lot of elder Indian guys who played guitar too.
Yeah, that's true, isn't it?
Yeah. A few years ago, I was living in kind of between Cass Lake and Walker on the Leech Lake Indian Reservation. And on Wednesday nights, I hosted an open mic night at the casino there.
Northern Lights?
No, the Cass Lake one, Palace.
Oh, yeah.
And so on Wednesday nights, me and Mr. Funk, actually I always called him Mr. Funk. What was his first name? Lem? I'm sorry. Forget him. He was I spent one night a week with him for like over a year. Just a great man. It's no reflection I have a bad memory. It's not Clem. He had like an old man name. The only guy I ever knew. His last name was Funk. And he should have been a funk guitar player, but he was like a 75-year-old swing country guitarist and singer. And he wore a big old cowboy hat with like a beaded band on it. And I know his name will come to me in a second here. Clancy Funk Claire. Anyway, so we hosted this open mic on Wednesday nights, and they gave us one of the ballrooms, one of the side rooms, and what I had in mind. I brought out my my amp and my guitar and a little stool and a microphone, and I thought, okay, well, I'll just go out there. We'll call it an open mic night, and I'll host it, and I'll get up there and I'll sing a song, and then I'll say, all right, up next, we've got whoever is going to sing a couple of songs here for 10 minutes, and, one by one, I'd have people sign up, read poems, sing a song, do whatever. Well, first night, I get up there and all these elders come out. Bunch of old guys like AIM, American Indian Movement guys who were like in their late teens, early 20s, in the late 60s, early 70s. So now these guys are like in their 70s. And they all grew up at a time when there weren't even that many TVs. But if you had a TV on the reservation, you had like one or two channels. No such thing as computers or video games. And so a lot of guys would just pick up the guitar and get together and jam and just make music. And it was also in the time, the 70s, they had these things in northern Minnesota called supper clubs. Supper. Supper is our word for dinner. With supper, you'd go out to a supper club and there'd be a band and there'd be a dinner special. And you'd get like the walleye dinner. And then the band would come on at like 8. And there'd be a dance floor thing. Live music. And drinking and driving was almost legal. Everybody did it. No one seemed to get DUIs in those days. And so the supper club and the live music act got really big, even in small towns. These guys would tell me about supper clubs called like the Idle Hour, or the what was the old? We used to play in one of those old beat up. It was no longer a supper club, but it was still kind of a bar. The Countryside Inn. So then, years go by and these guys all go off and, have lives. Some of them stayed in bands and toured around Canada. A lot of these guys just kind of gave up the guitar until the open mic. So I get started on the first night and I see all these elders walk in with their guitars and their amps. And a guy comes in with his drums and they just set up on the stage and they're like, okay, go ahead. We'll back you up. We're like, what? No, it's open mic. Haven't you guys ever been to a coffee shop? Nope. And they just all start jamming, and pretty soon they're just jamming old country tunes, old country rock tunes. And at the time I was still sort of closed-minded about country music, so I didn't know any of the songs. I had to learn how to jump on and play with much better guitar players than me. But then it was really fun. They just became like the house band for open mic. And people would show up to do a couple of songs, but then they'd be like, hey, you want us to back you up? And so somebody would be like, yeah, I was just going to come up and play an acoustic guitar, but if you want 4 more guitar players behind you and a bass player and a drum. And then we had some really great gigs, We started getting regular people would come back every week. There was this really good comedian who would show up. And one time old Annie Humphrey shows up with a hip-hop group, And then there was the time where it was going pretty well every Wednesday night. Oh, and then the ladies would start to bring potluck. And it was really nice because then we would just have potluck. But then the casino had to come in and go, oh, you guys can't have your own potlucks here. We have like codes and license stuff, to worry about. But if you want to cater some hors d'oeuvres or whatnot, you can order from our restaurant. So then we just started ordering food. And so people would show up, get their little plate of food. And, I would go out and buy all these little tea candles, put them on all the tables, and make, show an ambiance. Oh, and then we also brought people would bring their families. We had all these little kids running around, so we had to bring art supplies, and we started bringing board games. And so pretty soon we had food and markers and paper and coloring books for the kids. And then some people would be playing Clue or whatever. And then the rest of us be on the stage jamming away. We do it every Wednesday for about 3 hours. But that's when I learned that a lot of these old Indian guys, they'd be like, oh, yeah, well, I guess, I play a little guitar. Or it'd be like a powwow singer, and you'd be like, oh, yeah, I'm a powwow singer, but you know what? Back in the days, of when I was young, I played, in a band. Oh, wow, be like every other guy knew at least 4 or 5 chords, and they could strum along. Maybe play a little harmonica. And they didn't make a big deal out of it. It wasn't like the thing that identified them or defined it, like me. Me, I can't shut up about being a musician. Hey, I know you didn't ask, but did I tell you I play guitar? So yeah, those are good times. It's going to come to me. Jessica says... Oh, wait, Daniel says, is it really raining? Because those raindrops are repeating on the window. No, like NASA, this is actually a green screen. Well, that's what I was going to do last time. Do I still have the green screen? Maybe I can... Yesterday we were talking about NASA. Let's go on to make a point here. Well. Oh, we do have a gibberish cartoon. Mino Giga Jabe. Good morning. Good morning, Ajidamu. Good morning, Jesus. Is your gibberish cartoon of the day? I was going to show you my green screen. But anyway, all this is green screen, right? And because now that I'm working with a little green screen, I thought about, you can pull up green screen backgrounds of the International Space Station. And you go, yeah, that's exactly it. Why would they have all those wires and everything just out on the walls? How come there's so much work that needs to be done outside of a moving vehicle? You know, everything about the International Space Station is stupid. There's no video of them building it. No, then think of it. In this day and age of cell phones, nobody took a selfie of them being on the crew of building the International Space Station. That never happened. And apparently, I just saw this, because I can't be bothered with preparing too much for this show. If I turn this into a real show, you know. But I was looking around at rockets. I was going to share a comparison of a rocket. Oh, before I get off the topic. So International Space Station. In May of 2020, it was the first time they shot a rocket up in 7 years, a manned rocket. And they were sending guys to the International Space Station. And so they had the big launch, and, you know, and it again makes you have to go, wait, what? They shoot men in a rocket to get to the International Space Station. And so I was going to compare video of an amateur rocket launch. And and it's a big rocket, you know, but it's an amateur guy. So the rocket's only like 6 feet tall. And they stand far away, and they do the countdown, and it looks kind of like NASA rocket with the big flames and the smoke underneath. And then the rocket shoots up like a bottle rocket. Not quite that fast, but pretty close. This goes, and they watch it for a while, and then it, you know, sputters out and drops. And then I went over and looked at the NASA rocket launch, the last one, and you go, wait, what have you guys been doing for 7 years with that $53 million a day if you can't shoot people up in a rocket? And then they show that big countdown, 3, 2, 1, and bleep, 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 a bunch of, you know, making it sound really official. And then this lumbering, it looks exactly like what you might expect a helium balloon with a propulsion. I mean, once somebody pointed that out to me, I went, yeah, that does look like a helium balloon. And it goes kind of gradually. And then they film it. As it's going up, it's zoomed in on it, and you see part of the rocket flying up. And then they go throttling back. Yeah, okay. Because they're trying to explain why the thing's slowing down. And then it's curving, and even in their own dumb, because they have to do it live, video, it starts to go down, you know, because it's just going over the ocean. And, and then then it shifts camera angles. It clicks to another camera, and you're going, what camera is that? Do you have a camera connected to a second rocket that's following that rocket? You know, because the amateur rocket, there was this one angle from the ground, and they just went, and they saw it get really small, really fast. In a NASA rocket, you can fly along with it for a while. And then they'll cut to the GoPro that's on the outside of the rocket looking back at its own tail for some reason. And you get to see the fiery tail. And unlike the other amateur rocket that had a GoPro, that rocket was spinning like crazy. Just super fast spin. The NASA rocket doesn't spin at all. It's just straight like Star Trek. Okay. believe it if you want. You know, people don't like being told that they're believing a lie because it makes them feel stupid. But just like I'm not really sitting by a fire, in reality, I'm sitting in front of, oh, here, this is what I can do. In the future, I'm probably going to kind of shift gears in the show and direct it more towards kids. Because I know, like Grieving Turtle, I'm sure you know what a green screen is and stuff. And Jessica, you know. So forgive me for pointing out this, but I'm going to do something crazy here. So even in the free downloadable program on my computer, wait, I'm going to get rid of my Chrome filter for a second. Why am I doing this? This is stupid, but I've gone too far to turn back now. This is what my house really looks like. And this is what's really going on with NASA. It's just a green screen. Where am I? It's just a green screen. Yeah, it's just a green screen, huh? All right, you ruined it for everybody. I'm going to turn the magic back on. Go down to 5. Let's see, filters. Add an effect. Chroma key. Yeah, it's called chroma key. Okay. And then close. And I'm back in a lovely room. Just like NASA. Because when you have green screen, you can do anything. You know, it'll be one person here, and then they can have a second screen in front where you like have, you know, floating bubbles or whatever. You know, the NASA scam worked really good for a long time because that generation, you know, my grandmother, for as smart and well educated as those boarding school grads were, they were very naive. You know, you got to remember, you know, they paid money to see that movie King Kong because it was so realistic to them. They're like, wow, King Kong. How did they get that? How did they train that monkey to climb the building? Where did they find a monkey that big? You know. But now, in the age of everybody has more technology than, even by their dumb story, NASA, even by what they claim they had in the 1968, everybody on their phone has better technology. You know, more powerful computer and better just green screen technology and stuff. You know, the songs I did in the beginning, you know, I recorded that. It's a karaoke track that we're singing on. And, you know, welcome to the future, I say. I say welcome. Welcome to the future. Daniel Black says, oh wait, let me go up a little bit. Grieving Turtle says, I'm drinking dark roasted prairie flavored chickpea brew. No caffeine. And sold to me by Adventist. Breaking the addiction. Oh, good luck with that. I tried to break the coffee addiction a while back. God, I got just the worst headaches. Yeah, I couldn't do it. I fell off the wagon, and good luck to you grieving. Jim says, messy house, eh? Yeah. It is a mess. Grieving says, hoarder caution. Hey, Jim Dunn. I love watching that movie, that TV show Hoarders. It always makes me feel better about my life choices. It's like, well, at least I'm not a hoarder. It could be a lot worse. I only have one cat. I only have one, and my cat's not even malnourished. I'm worried about him getting fat. You watch the hoarders and they're like, oh, I'm just a cat lady. I love cats. That's why I have 30, crab mite infested, malnourished cats just running around. What's up with the outside kitten? I haven't seen him in a while. I kept feeding him every day, and then I stopped because I never saw him, and I wasn't sure if I was just feeding. I'm a little afraid of getting a skunk under the house. So if he wants to make himself seen, I'll keep feeding him. But he's such a cute little guy. I suspect he's probably got houses all over the neighborhood feeding him like me. Grieving Turtle says, I have 2 cases of Chef Boyardee cheese ravioli. Is that hoarding? 2 cases? No, that's preparing. You're a prepper. I don't think it's really hoarding unless you have garbage. I think prepping, you can be a hoarder of like supplies, of ammo. Grieving Turtle told me she got 2 cases of shells. Then that doesn't make you a hoarder. That makes you a prepper. But yeah, hoarders, like I one time when I was in college, I got just excited. I was like, hey man, here's my big break. I'm gonna there's a guy who had an independent newspaper. One of these free newspapers that you see in the laundromat. They're filled with whatever. But they always had a big, his free newspaper had ads and cartoons, and that was it. It was just like a 16-page comic strip newspaper that he just, I guess he raised ads and then printed it and whatever. But I had a meeting with him in his home office, he said. He was the editor of this newspaper. And I was like, oh, okay, here's my shot. I better get my portfolio together. I'll show him my best comic strips. Because by this time I had a comic strip that had been running for about a year in the college newspaper. In Moorhead, it was called, I forget what it's called. But the Moorhead College newspaper. And so I went, okay, here's a step up. This is a newspaper out in the community. I'll go meet with this editor, So I put on a jacket and a tie and my portfolio, and I got his address, and I went to his home office, and I walked into this little house, and it had newspapers to the ceiling, and just a trail through the house where you could walk with newspaper, clothing, garbage, furniture, more garbage, more clothing and stuff that had been bought but not taken out of the wrapper. Cats everywhere. It smelled like urine. And I walked in, I was like, oh, is this guy going to kill me? And he was like, let me see your work. It's like, what? You're the editor? Yes, I'm of course the editor. Why do you think I have so many papers in my house? That doesn't answer my question. Anyway, so I showed him my comic strip, and then I think I agreed. I think he was going to pay me like $25 a strip, but he wanted original strips. I was like, dude, I get like 3 times that at the college, and anyway, I did it for a couple of weeks, and then I just kind of quit. Grieving Turtle says, they're only $1 a can. Yeah, but still Chef Boyardee. You're going to have to eat that cheese ravioli eventually. You're like, I guess I can pour it over some spinach. Chef Boyardee. They're going to cancel him next. You can't have a. That's racist against Italians. You know how they got rid of Uncle Ben and Aunt Jemima and a little Anishinaabe girl on Land O'Lakes. They're gonna have to get rid of that Chef Boyardee. Oh, what a stereotype. Not all Italian men are great cooks. That's a stereotype, you guys. I remember one time I wanted to make a video at the school I was working at. And I brought all the kids, all the Indian kids, into this conference room. And I brought my camera and I said, let's have a round table discussion on race. And I want you kids to tell me what it's like to be a Native American in this school. And I'll ask you some questions off camera and you can answer. So I had the camera set up and I would ask them, what are your feelings on stereotypes, on mascots? And it'd be kind of divided. Oh yeah, they should get rid of that. Nah, it's stupid. Who cares? But then we got to stereotypes and I go, are all stereotypes bad? And the kids are like, well, no, sometimes, people think, like black people are going to be good at basketball. That's not a bad thing to have a stereotype that you're athletic. And then they started just to kind of riff on different stereotypes. She goes, yeah, just because I'm Indian doesn't mean I'm a good fisherman, or just because somebody's Asian doesn't mean they're good at. And they all paused, like they couldn't remember what some stereotypes were, like good at I don't know, doing nails. They started giggling just hard, and then I had the whole room of little Indian girls giggling because they couldn't believe that they said such an outrageous thing. I'm like, you guys, we're trying to talk about racism here. It's a serious subject, but we couldn't. It just became a funny talking about stereotypes, because that's what's behind all that. The schools are constantly talking about race and racism and undoing racism, and but the reality of the experience these kids had was that they were having a lot of fun. It's kind of like being poor. Back in the days of the grandfathers, my grandma would always talk about how apparently everybody was poor, but nobody knew it because everybody was poor. You didn't compare yourself with, and you had no one to compare yourself with. They didn't watch TV. They were aware of rich people, like on Gone with the Wind or whatever. Apparently the banker in It's a Wonderful Life was rich. There was the family from who owned the general store. Nellie's family from Land of the Lost, from Little House on the Prairie. They were rich. But mostly poor people didn't know they were poor. And it's kind of like racism. The kids they had no idea what racism was. They were surrounded by the one homogenized race. Everybody's Indian. They had to be told that they were being oppressed. Don't you know your racism's really bad? So, yeah. Like, what? Oh, the other day I was being followed around in a store. It made me really nervous because I just shoplifted. Yeah, that's why, dummy. So what are some good stereotypes based on race? White people. What are some stereotype of a white person? I mean, nowadays they take so much grief. It's all bad stereotypes. Oh, they can't dance. Oh, they're boring or something. They get no soul. I saw this video. They were like, it was the most racist thing I'd ever seen. And a whole lineup of black people answering the question, what are white people superior at? So the whole premise is just set up on white supremacy. It's like, I want to hear from a real white supremacist. We shouldn't be talking about this. This assuming stuff about a group of people. Because it's not like white people think they're superior. White supremacists think they're superior. And who cares? You know? Most groups think they're superior. It's not like black people think that white people are better at basketball. It's not like a bunch of Indians are going, yeah, nothing I like more than when a white guy tells me how to hunt. Oh yeah, where are the good fish? Tourists, everybody thinks they're superior. But white people, so this, what are white people superior at? And all the black people were like, taking credit for other people's work, being racist, being smelling weird. And they had all these just terribly racist stereotypes of white people. Like, what if that video had been, what are black people superior at? And he asked a bunch of white people. It'd have a very different tone. Because, a woke person or whatever would say, I don't know what they would say. Most white people, they're better at everything. They're better at sports and music and, whatever. But then a awake person would be like, no, you can't stereotype based on race. That's just... Race itself is a social construct. If you want to get down to it. You can't take a person's blood and tell their race. Can you? Can you take a person's blood drop and say this person was French and Navajo and from the Ethiopian, from the tribe of Ethiopia or whatever? I don't know. Grieving Turtle, blue eyes. White people are better at producing blue eyes. Yeah, how about that? They're better at making freckles. But it just kind of antagonizes people. What is this group superior at? Because then the next question is, well, what are they inferior at? And the problem with white people, the problem with the term white people is that it's a blanket statement like Indian, where it sums up a whole group of very diverse, different languages, different history, different experiences, different expressions, different food. And he just calls them, they're all white. There's no difference between an Irishman and a Frenchman. There's no difference. Where's the similarity? But the term white person just becomes, anything you can say about how a person of color is marginalized, you can say about a white person. They get stereotyped, they get blamed for the crimes of their group, racially profiled, a lot of people say, you can't be white and not be racist. It's like, all right, way to profile a whole group. And the white people can't jump. Which white people? What, can all black people jump? What about pygmies? What about short white people? Or black people? Sheila's got to go to work. Peace, Sheila. Have a good day. We'll miss you when you're gone. All right, you guys, she's gone. Let's talk about her. Oh, that's Sheila. What a clown, huh? Get out of here. No, just kidding. Grieving Turtle. We are all different shades of brown. Yeah, no kidding. From almond color to Brazil nut shades. Yeah. Even albinos aren't really white. There's some little shade of pink in there. I heard somebody say eye color is the same thing as nature. Got blue for water, brown for dirt, green for leaves. What's pink? fire. You ever meet an albino?
I don't think so. Have you?
I don't know. I don't think so. I can't remember. I've known some midgets.
Yeah, me too.
They say midget's a bad word. It's like the N word. But I went out and I called somebody a midget, and then I called somebody the N word, and turns out there's a big difference. I stole that joke. But yeah, but apparently midget is a bad word. You're supposed to call him a little person. I don't know who decided that. If it was a little person or if it was a tall person on behalf of the little people. I have the impression that there's a group that gets together in a conference room somewhere. And they're like, okay, on the agenda today, what will be the new term for midget? We're going to call that offensive. How about dwarf? No, that's a real thing. How about elf? That might be, who knows? How about little person? Yeah, that's okay. All right. Now, Indian. Have we decided on Indian yet? Yeah, we're going with First Nations. Who am I talking to? Because my lips aren't moving. We're going with First Nations. I can't do these comedy bits when I forget if I'm the one talking or if it's somebody off camera. Anyway. But I get this impression that it's never the group that's outraged. It's always some other group that's on behalf. Because Indians never got together and said, you know what, I'm so sick and tired of being called Indian. From now on, because if we had our way, it'd be like, hey, why don't you learn my tribe? Call me an Anishinaabe. Call me an Ojibwe. But the people in that secret group are like, okay, for all Indians, now we'll call them indigenous. We'll call them Native Americans. It's like, it says who? And I'm like, oh, that sounds retarded. Don't say that. That sounds developmentally disabled. All right. Well, hey, guys, let's call that a show. I want to say, miigwech, kanawabieg. Thank you for watching. Bonjour, Nana Bonjour, the podcast about Ojibwe language and culture. I am Nana Bonjour. This is Natasha. Bonjour. And I will see you again. Gigawabamin. Menoa. Awa. And live stream. What now, honey?